There is a unique type of magic that belongs exclusively to the silver screen, a mesmerizing force that has captivated human hearts and minds for generations, shaping the way we see the world, the way we cry, and, perhaps most importantly, the way we laugh. For over 100 years, moving images have served as a mirror to society, catching our collective dreams and our deepest anxieties, transforming them into art that outlives the creators themselves. In the vast history of global entertainment, thousands of stars have burned bright and faded away, leaving behind fleeting moments of fame that dissolve into the archives of time. Yet, every once in a while, a truly monumental figure emerges, someone whose creative vision does not merely adapt to the culture, but actively transforms it, bending the rules of what is permissible and redefining the very boundaries of human joy. To survive in the fickle and demanding world of show business for a decade is considered an impressive achievement, but to remain at the absolute vanguard of cultural relevance, to continue inspiring the greatest minds of modern cinema, and to cross a threshold that few human beings ever witness is something entirely miraculous. We live in an era of rapid change, where trends disappear in the blink of an eye, yet there remains a golden thread connecting the foundations of classic entertainment to the modern digital age. A thread woven by an individual who has spent an entire lifetime reminding us that the ultimate antidote to human tragedy is a brilliant, uncompromising sense of humor. As we look out across the landscape of modern media, it is easy to forget how much of our contemporary sense of satire, irony, and parody was forged in the creative crucibles of the mid-20th century, an era when writers and performers had to rely purely on wit, timing, and an innate understanding of human nature. The journey of comedy from the smoky, chaotic atmospheres of early mid-century variety shows to the grandest stages of Broadway and the multi-million-dollar studios of Hollywood represents one of the most fascinating chapters in cultural history. It is a journey populated by visionary thinkers who understood that laughter is not just a casual reaction, but a profound human necessity that binds us together across generations. Before we pull back the curtain on this extraordinary tale of a literal century of creative brilliance and explore the monumental event that has brought the entire entertainment world to a complete standstill in reverence, take a brief moment to join our community by subscribing to this channel, ensuring you never miss our deep dives into the lives of the timeless icons who shaped our world. This grand, cinematic story is not just about the passage of calendar years, but about the thousands of moments where a single voice caused millions of people to simultaneously forget their burdens and lose themselves in pure, unadulterated hilarity. The atmosphere surrounding this specific celebration is heavy with nostalgia, reverence, and a profound sense of gratitude from every corner of the creative arts, drawing together actors, musicians, directors, and fans from all over the world to honor a living monument of cultural history, to truly understand the gravity of the milestone that has just been reached. One must look at the rare air occupied by those very few individuals who have managed to conquer every single facet of the entertainment industry, mastering the distinct arts of the camera, the microphone, the stage, and the recording studio to achieve a status that elevates them into the realm of true cultural royalty. The historical weight of this moment became blindingly clear over this past weekend as a wave of celebration, deep emotion, and creative pride swept through the streets of Beverly Hills and echoed across social media platforms worldwide. This was not merely another routine industry gathering or a standard retrospective of a classic career, but rather a collective realization that we are witnessing the living history of an art form. The world of cinema received a double dose of historical significance as a major national institution dedicated to preserving the legacy of film chose this exact moment to rewrite its own historical rankings, elevating a 50-year-old masterpiece to the absolute pinnacle of cinematic achievement. This decision served as a perfectly timed tribute, a synchronization of institutional honors, and a deeply personalized milestone that reminded everyone why this specific storyteller remains an unmatched force of nature. The air was filled with tributes from cinematic space explorers, theatrical masterminds, business magnates, and close artistic collaborators who have spent recent years working side by side with a legend. Discovering that even as the decades accumulate, the spark of true genius never loses its brightness. The grand crescendo of this atmospheric buildup brings us directly to the legendary figure of Mel Brooks himself, who, on Sunday, June 28, officially stepped into a new realm of cinematic immortality by celebrating his landmark 100th birthday. This extraordinary centennial milestone was met with an unprecedented outpouring of love, admiration, and hysterical tributes from his closest Hollywood friends. celebrating a man who has quite literally spent a full century making the world a brighter place. The comedy film legend, celebrated globally for revolutionary masterpieces like The Producers and Young Frankenstein, did not just reach a massive age milestone, he also watched as his iconic 1974 satirical Western comedy, Blazing Saddles, was officially named the funniest film of all time by the American Film Institute. This dual celebration of a century of life and the ultimate crowning of his cinematic work sets the stage for a grand exploration of a career that began all the way back in the 1950s, evolving to make him one of the rarest stars in history to hold the legendary EGOT status. As the entire entertainment industry pauses to look back at the incredible journey of a boy from Brooklyn who went from playing drums in nightclubs to conquering the Academy Awards, the Tonys, the Emmys, and the Grammys, the true depth of his impact begins to unfold, revealing a story of partnership, uncompromising satire, and a creative flame that even at 100 years old shows absolutely no signs of burning out. The sheer scale of this celebration highlights just how deeply Mel Brooks has woven himself into the fabric of global culture. And as the details of this historic weekend began to emerge, it became clear that the entire creative community was eager to share their personal experiences with a man who has redefined the mechanics of laughter. Among the many voices rising to honor the centenarian, few carried as much contemporary weight and genuine emotional depth as that of actor and singer Josh Gad. For the past half-decade, Gad has found himself in the almost surreal position of working hand-in-hand with his absolute comedy idol, developing a creative partnership that bridges two entirely different generations of performance art. To mark this extraordinary milestone, Gad took to his social media platforms to lift the veil on their ongoing collaboration, sharing an intimate look at a project that has the entire cinematic world buzzing with anticipation. The two have been secretly embedding themselves in production studios, working tirelessly on the highly anticipated 2027 movie Spaceballs, the new one, a direct sequel to Brooks' beloved 1987 sci-fi parody. Through a carefully curated carousel of photographs, Gad offered the public a rare, behind-the-scenes glimpse into their shared world, showing that even at 100 years old, the legendary director, writer, and actor possesses an infectious energy that leaves everyone around him completely spellbound. The visual evidence of their partnership tells a story of pure artistic joy and mutual respect, painting a picture of a legendary creative mind that refuses to slow down. In one particularly poignant snapshot inside a modern sound booth, Brooks and Gad can be seen flashing bright, cheerful smiles, their faces illuminated by the shared thrill of catching the perfect comedic take. Other images in the collection highlight a beautiful sense of continuity, capturing the acclaimed filmmaker proudly donning a classic Spaceballs cap, while another shows him comfortably wrapped in a custom Spaceballs sweatshirt, looking every bit the mastermind behind a multi-generational franchise. In a more candid photograph, Brooks is captured standing right in the center of what appears to be a bustling production studio, caught mid-conversation, gesturing with the same sharp, decisive passion that defined his legendary film sets 50 years ago. Gad's accompanying message was overflowing with gratitude, describing the opportunity to work alongside Brooks for the last 5 years as the absolute greatest gift of his entire life. The multi-talented performer emphasized that Brooks has managed to make audiences laugh, cry, and feel deeply across every single medium available, conquering the big screen, the small screen, the live theatrical stage, and even vintage record players. This deep sense of awe was mirrored by another giant of the comedic arts, actor Albert Brooks, who famously brought characters to life in modern masterpieces like Finding Nemo and Drive. Taking to his own public channels, Albert Brooks opted for a brilliant touch of humor that perfectly matched the birthday boy's signature style. He playfully addressed a decades-long running joke within the entertainment community, noting that many people throughout his life have mistakenly assumed that Mel is his actual biological father. Clarifying with a wink that they are not related by blood, he quickly pivoted to emphasize what Mel truly is to the world, crowning him as one of the single greatest comic minds to ever walk the earth over the last full century, before signing off with a warm embrace from his self-described fake son. The praise only grew loftier as industry executives joined the chorus, with the chief executive officer of AMC Theaters, Adam Aron, stepping forward to issue a powerful statement on the unique legacy of the filmmaker. Aron reminded the world of the precise historical weight of the day, stating that there is and will only ever be one Mel Brooks, a man born exactly 100 years ago on June 28, 1926. He described him as a genius raconteur, an individual who has successfully kept humanity laughing hysterically for a full century, ultimately outshining even the brightest and most celebrated lights in the history of comedy. As the digital world swelled with celebratory messages, icons from completely different corners of the cultural universe converged to salute the milestone. Television and science fiction pioneer William Shatner reached out across the network to tag Brooks directly, punctuating his congratulations with vibrant, festive birthday emojis that highlighted the joyous spirit of the day. In an interesting cosmic coincidence of the calendar, billionaire tech entrepreneur Elon Musk, who happened to be celebrating his own 55th birthday on that exact same Sunday, took notice of the veteran actor's tribute and actively reposted it to his massive global audience, expanding the reach of the centennial celebration even further into the modern digital landscape. Yet, while the digital tributes showed the profound personal affection Hollywood holds for Brooks, the structural hierarchy of cinema itself was simultaneously paying tribute to his artistic genius. The American Film Institute's announcement regarding Blazing Saddles did not just happen by chance. It represented a radical reevaluation of cinematic history. The legendary 1974 satirical Western comedy, which had previously held a respectable 6th place on the prestigious 100 Years of Laughs list, was officially elevated to the #1 spot, definitively earning the title of the funniest film of all time. To look back at the creation of Blazing Saddles is to look at a moment where Hollywood rulebooks were completely thrown into the fire. Led by a director who knew exactly how to use absurdity to dismantle deep-seated societal prejudices, Brooks did not merely stand behind the camera for this project. He co-wrote the razor-sharp screenplay alongside a brilliant team that included the legendary Richard Pryor, and he even pulled double duty by jumping in front of the lens to portray the hilariously corrupt, bumbling Governor William J. LePetomane. The film's stellar cast, which brought together the incomparable talents of Gene Wilder, Cleavon Little, and Slim Pickens, delivered performances that balanced high-energy slapstick with profound cultural commentary. When it first hit theaters in the mid-1970s, the movie defied every single commercial expectation, transforming its modest production budget of just over $2.5 million into an earth-shattering box office haul of approximately $119 million. This incredible financial success proved that audiences were absolutely starving for the kind of fearless, uncompromising comedy that Brooks was pioneering, a style that used laughter as a scalpel to dissect the hypocrisies of the American mythos. The path that led this young man to the absolute pinnacle of global show business is an epic narrative that stretches across the defining events of the 20th century, anchored by an unshakable work ethic and a brilliant natural instinct for entertainment. Born into a vibrant but hardworking family in Brooklyn, New York, back in the summer of 1926, the young Brooks learned early on that wit was a powerful tool for survival and connection in the crowded urban landscape. Before he ever set foot on a Hollywood backlot, his character was forged in the fires of global conflict, serving his country with honor during the dark days of World War II. Upon returning across the ocean to civilian life, his initial steps into the professional entertainment industry were not made as a writer or an actor, but behind a drum kit, beating out rhythms in the chaotic, high-energy environment of local nightclubs and resort hotels. It was within these bustling nightlife circuits that he discovered his true calling lay not in keeping the beat, but in delivering the punchline. By the dawn of the 1950s, he successfully transitioned into the competitive world of television comedy writing, securing a coveted spot on the writing team for the legendary variety program Your Show of Shows, where he spent years sharpening his skills alongside some of the most formidable creative minds of his generation. The invaluable training ground of early television writing provided Mel Brooks with a profound understanding of pacing, structure, and audience psychology that would soon propel him into the grand arena of feature films. Following his foundational years on Your Show of Shows from 1950 through 1954, his relentless creative energy saw him contributing sharp material to the cinematic production New Faces, while simultaneously lending his sharp comedic instincts to Caesar's Hour through the latter half of the decade. As the television medium expanded rapidly into American households, Brooks proved his versatility by co-creating the legendary satirical spy series Get Smart alongside the brilliant Buck Henry, a show that ran from 1965 to 1970 and forever altered how the public viewed secret agents and bureaucratic absurdity. Yet, despite his massive success on the small screen, the visionary storyteller harbored a deep desire to assume absolute creative control over his narratives. an ambition that finally materialized in 1967 with his spectacular feature directorial debut, The Producers. This audacious, dark satirical comedy, starring the incomparable duo of Zerostel and Gene Wilder as two scheming theatrical businessmen trying to deliberately engineer a massive Broadway flop, shocked and delighted audiences in equal measure, ultimately earning Brooks a prestigious Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. The staggering critical and commercial triumph of The Producers proved to the entire global film industry that Brooks possessed a totally unique, uncompromising cinematic voice, establishing a stellar directorial template that he would continue to refine over the next several decades. He boldly followed his debut with a series of highly ambitious, deeply creative cinematic projects that continuously challenged the conventional boundaries of narrative filmmaking, including the quirky 1970 comedy The 12 Chairs and his undisputed 1974 horror parody masterpiece Young Frankenstein, which beautifully paid homage to classic Universal monster movies while delivering some of the most hilariously memorable lines in film history. Never one to rest comfortably on his laurels, the director continued his relentless artistic experimentation throughout the late 20th century, boldly crafting the brilliant 1976 visual experiment Silent Movie, which playfully revived the lost art of physical comedy, and the sharp 1977 psychological thriller parody High Anxiety, which directly and affectionately spoofed the signature cinematic style of Alfred Hitchcock. His subsequent grand historical epic History of the World, Part 1 in 1981, and the endlessly quotable 1993 medieval adventure parody Robin Hood, Men in Tights further cemented his unparalleled reputation as a master filmmaker who could seamlessly transform any classic cinematic genre into a beautiful canvas for pure, unadulterated joy. What truly endeared Mel Brooks to millions of dedicated fans across the globe was his wonderful habit of stepping directly out from behind the director's chair and placing himself right into the chaotic worlds of his own creation, frequently appearing in delightfully eccentric, highly memorable supporting roles throughout his entire filmography. Beyond his own massive productions, his extensive acting resume grew to include brilliant collaborative performances in classic features like the 1983 comedy drama To Be or Not to Be, the beloved 1994 family film The Little Rascals, and highly acclaimed television guest appearances on modern masterpieces like Larry David's hit series Curb Your Enthusiasm. As the entertainment landscape gradually shifted into the 21st century, a brand new generation of young film lovers discovered his unmistakable voice through high-profile animated features, including his wonderful voice acting work as Vlad in Hotel Transylvania 2 and the endearing character of Maleficent Brooks in the Pixar classic Toy Story 4. This extraordinary versatility across diverse mediums and generations explains how he achieved the incredibly rare status of an EGOT winner, accumulating a magnificent trophy collection that boasts a coveted Academy Award, 4 prestigious Primetime Emmys, a Grammy Award, and 3 historic Tony Awards for his spectacular Broadway musical adaptation of The Producers. The institutional recognition of his massive contribution to world culture culminated in a series of deeply moving lifetime achievement milestones, starting with the official unveiling of his well-deserved star on the legendary Hollywood Walk of Fame back in the spring of 2010. Just 3 short years later, the American Film Institute honored his sweeping cinematic legacy by presenting him with the highly prestigious AFI Life Achievement Award, an event that brought together the absolute greatest living actors and filmmakers to salute a century of unparalleled creative genius. Yet, when the master storyteller himself looks back across the vast expanse of his historic 100-year journey, he has frequently noted that his greatest source of strength, artistic inspiration, and personal happiness came from his beautiful, deeply loving family life. Following his initial marriage to Florence Baum from 1953 until their amicable divorce in 1962, during which they welcomed 3 beautiful children into the world, Brooks experienced a profound, life-altering romance when he met and married the luminous, extraordinarily talented Academy Award-winning actress Anne Bancroft in 1964. The legendary couple remained completely inseparable, collaborating on numerous artistic projects and sharing a deeply passionate bond until her tragic and deeply mourned passing in the summer of 2005, leaving behind a beautiful legacy of love and their multi-talented author son, Max Brooks, in a poignant, deeply reflective interview with reporters from The Hollywood Reporter. The legendary centenarian beautifully summarized his lifelong devotion to his chosen craft, candidly observing that comedy is an incredibly demanding, fiercely difficult art form and that an individual truly must possess a deep, unconditional love for it to stick with it over the course of a lifetime. He warmly recalled how, during his early formative years as a young performer, he genuinely used to believe that love was the immediate, joyous response he would receive from an audience whenever he did something incredibly funny on stage. He described how receiving a massive, thunderous roar of laughter from a room full of strangers would completely run through his entire body, instantly cheering him up and making him feel an extraordinary sense of gratitude for the beautiful privilege of making people happy through his creative work. It is precisely this profound, lifelong connection with the beating heart of human emotion that makes his milestone 100th birthday such a deeply moving, culturally significant event for the entire world. As his brilliant career comes full circle with his exciting active involvement in the upcoming Spaceballs sequel alongside modern stars like Josh Gad, we are reminded that true creative genius knows absolutely no temporal boundaries.